Fellow Falcoholics, what is up? Welcome to the Falcoholic Lives Falcons vs. Bengals Week 7 post-game show. I am your host, Kevin Knight, joined by my co-host going forward for these post-game programs. He is Alan Strk, at Alan Strk. Alan, tough game. How we doing?
I don't know if lethargic is the word. I'm just like, bleh. It's just like after somewhat high expectations, second biggest game of the week, if you look at the caliber of games on the schedule, and it just feels very lackluster, even though you look at the defensive injuries, you look at the caliber of opponent, you kind of get why. I just think particularly offensively left a lot to be desired.
Yeah, I mean, I think the defense, it's sort of like you look at the end, like AJ Terrell goes out on the first drive. They're already down Casey Hayward. They lose Mike Ford. They lose Jalen Hawkins. Cornell Armstrong's covering Jamar Chase for a large part of this game, and there's just no way you can expect this defense to do anything even remotely like effective against that. And to their credit, they actually did, I think, have a solid second half, considering everything. Like the Bengals certainly didn't have to push anything or really try very hard, but they did enough, I think, in the second half to keep the Falcons in contention. And then in the second half, we saw the offense barely did a damn thing all day. Like they hit that 75-yard bomb, so good, great. And then they had that one drive in the second quarter. Mm-hmm. And that was it, all game. They could do nothing else the entire game. The run game barely worked against a disastrously bad run defense that just gave up over 200 yards to the Saints. Mariota was not sharp, but honestly, I don't know, like, with the pass protection as bad as it was, that was a big factor in this game, too. I mean, he took, 3 sacks? Was constantly under duress, had to bail on the pocket all the time. It wasn't a setup for anyone to play well. He certainly didn't exceed the sum of his parts or really do much with the opportunity today. The run game, again, the run game not working is just a complete death knell for this offense. If the run game's not working, it's over. They can't do a damn thing. And what do you think is the culprit of that? We'll just start off on this topic because everyone's talking about it. Do you really think it's Marcus Mariota? Do you think it's the offensive line, the weapons somehow? If it's the weapons, obviously we're in deep trouble.
Yeah, there's a lot of trap capital for it to be the weapons.
So I don't think it's that, but I am interested in what you think about that.
I definitely want to watch a film of this. Falcons offense is such a curious watch because they've been so efficient, but this game, just what has gone wrong? But I think one of the things you could just look at from a true glance is this team has serious issues when it's third and long. If they can't get into third manageable situations, they kind of look hopeless. I saw a couple of moments where they're running max protect on third and long, which is not ideal, where it's Parker Hesse has to block, and then he's a receiver, but then it just pits London, maybe Zacchaeus. You just need more options, especially since the Bengals, they like dropping a lot of players deep into coverage. So, which I was concerned about going to game because they're just so organized back there. So I think whether it's a lack of belief in the pass protection or just Mariota's limitations, I think one of the biggest issues right now for this offense is just as good as they actually are on third down. I think third and long, it's scary how incapable they look. They look like they can't convert at all, which is a problem when you have two of the last top 10 picks were pass catchers. So that's just from a first glance. I'll definitely want to watch a film, but I just think if you're not able to convert in third and long in this league, your offense can be severely handicapped.
Yeah, I mean it was a bad day overall from the offense. I don't think people should get too on Mariota's case. He certainly had a bad game, but I mean, I don't know that there was a ton else he could do to change the outcome of the game. I mean, I think it could have been closer certainly, but I really think it was up to the run game to take over against a run defense missing their best linebacker, arguably one of their best defensive players, missing their top 2 nose tackles. They couldn't run the ball outside of one singular drive. They were bad at running the ball every other drive, only just a little over 100 yards total on the ground, which is really low for them. That was the end of the offense being that was the end of them having an opportunity to compete, because a lot of people I think are caught up on this oh, well, the Falcons can't throw to catch up in this game and all this stuff. They didn't need to. They cut this to 28-17, and they got the ball after halftime. All you got to do is just play. You don't have to throw the ball. You just have to have a drive. It doesn't matter what you do. They didn't get the first drive. Okay. Defense stops the Bengals on the next drive. They have another opportunity. 3 and out again. Do nothing. And they don't do anything else the entire game. Like, that is why they lost. It's not about not being able to throw. Like, of course, obviously you go 3 and out twice, then the Bengals are going to score again because, like, this, we already talked about the defense being down, like, what, 4 of their top 5 defensive backs. So, they were never going to hold the Bengals defense down in this game with that happening. But, like, the offense as a whole failed, not because they couldn't throw, but because they just failed in the second half.
And it just seemed like they couldn't get much going outside runs, which has been a bit of their bread and butter. The pin pull runs that they'll use like Pitts to pit, and then they'll either pull Lynch or McGarry. It just seemed like that not much effect. It just seemed very condensed, their runs. Like a lot of it was just power inside, and maybe it's just a testament to wanting to attack the Bengals on tier. But the offensive line just flat out did not play well. Like we could talk about the pass protection issues. Like there's just moments, like I forget who's 97. He looks like Dom Kopecka, but Dom Kopecka has not done the Bengals.
He's their third string nose tackle. Yeah.
He had this arm over move on Elijah Wilkinson, was just like oof, like that. It's just those kind of reps you don't forget about. Like I didn't think anyone on the offensive line played particularly well, but it's those things like you can't just be dependent on Keith Spitt, the Parker Hesse to create these spurts in the run game. Like they're kind of just a supplement to it. But at the end of the day, it's like those 5 up front have to do their job, and it just seemed like the Bengals defense, like they're always one step ahead. The whole game, like they just seemed like the Bengals were on point, and whenever the Falcons like put together something outside of Eli Apple just losing on his coverage, other than Eli Apple being Eli Apple, it just seemed like the Bengals were pretty much a step ahead on the Falcons on pretty much everything.
Yeah. And we are hearing that Jalen Hawkins is in the concussion protocol. So he's likely going to miss at least 1 week. I mean, yes, this passing game is a complete joke, despite having 2 top 10 picks at weapons. So that is a problem. Like, there's no way you could get around it. Like, if this team trusted Mariota to throw the ball, they would have thrown it more than 13 times in this game. They do not trust him to throw the ball. It's not just him, though. The offensive line can't pass protect. It's still a disaster up front when they're pass protecting. At least, I mean, the run game, they're getting that done at least. But that's it. Like, they cannot pass protect. No one really can. I mean, Caleb McGarry's still an awful pass protector. Jake Matthews is aging. He's fine, but nowhere near like the elite left tackle that he used to be. It's tough to watch this pass offense that they've invested 2 huge like weapons into be throwing the ball 13 times in a game. That's just unacceptable. Even with this game script that they want to run, like I get that they're a lot better at running the ball, but I think we do have to have the conversation of like, this can't be the plan. Like drafting 2 top receivers and then having the passing game basically be just barely a complementary part of your offense. And I think the people calling for Desmond Ridder are the people sort of feeling that vibe, and I get that vibe, but they didn't only have those few attempts. Like 4 of those 4 attempts were taken off the board by sacks. Like, and Mariota was under pressure far more than that. So, I mean, do you think it is a quarterback issue, or is it everything else going on?
I do think it's like a product of the whole system. Obviously, I'd like to let's see how these next 2 games go before having that conversation, because I do think Mario is still going to be the starter. But there's no denying just the fact that Drake London had 1 target. Like, how is that possible in this type of game? So it's stuff like that. And I do think Mariota, he is at this point. Like, we critique him on, not being that great in the pocket when it comes to being under duress, or him not processing quick enough for making quick reads. Like, but we kind of know this already. So I don't really know what else to really say about Mario. I know the team's fully behind him and he can make plays, but it's just, man, when his team is down double digits, it's just like, I know they came back against the Rams and the Bucks and showed great resilience, but I think that was much more of a collective effort than Mariota really. Mario played decent in those games, but it was much more of a team effort rather than him putting the team on his back necessarily. But man, it's just I think we've been saying since week 1, though, this offense, as efficient as they are, when things are going right, I don't think they can maximize their full potential until Desmond Ridder's in there.
Yeah, and I agree. Like, I think that this is a training wheels passing offense until that happens. And, like, to be fair, like, it's been effective with the training wheels in a lot of weeks, but against a good secondary, against a good defense like Cincinnati, especially when you can't run the ball for some reason, you're having an off day on the ground, you have no hope. Like, no hope whatsoever. You can't pass protect, and, like, Mariota, I think, is efficient as a passer, but he's not a high volume passer. Not at
Absolutely
this
not.
point. And I don't think that like when he's thrown the ball, he's been awful. Like, to be clear, like I don't think he's like been a bad quarterback when he throws. But the fact that they are so run heavy means they do not believe that throwing the ball a lot is going to generate a lot of success. And we'll see. We'll see how that goes. But what do you think about the idea of inserting Ritter into the end of this game? I know there were people calling for that. What do you think about that idea? Do you think that would have been a good idea, bad idea? What's your sort of take?
It would be completely unnecessary at this point. Ritter, I'm just a firm believer in giving a quarterback a week to prepare. Like that's how you have to approach it, especially in a delicate situation like this, because we know this team. Look, they got clear deficiencies. We know about the offensive line issues, and it's still a work in progress. The passing game. I just think putting a quarterback into a fray like that, especially against a defense that was flying on all cylinders, I just think it's a recipe for disaster. So look, give it time. Let the coaching staff prepare. I still am a firm believer in this coaching staff. I think they could, when the time comes, they could put together the winning strategy for Ritter to go in there. But right now, it's just look. We were fully jovial last week after they beat the 49ers. This is just one game. I
Yeah.
think you got to take it a game by game and to really dissect how this team is performing. Because to me, this was like the first real deflating loss of the season. Like the Rams, Bucks. Am I blanking on their team? Who's the other team they lost to? The Saints. Oh, jeez.
Yeah, that one was very deflating.
That was deflating.
That one was deflating. But the
those
other
three games, it wasn't one sided, and the offense didn't look hopeful. And like even though they struggled against the Bucks, at the same time, like Mario was making plays in the second half of the game. I remember Pitts was out, which is pretty much London, and I believe Patterson he was injured that game, the Bucks game, correct?
Yeah.
So
I think he got injured. Yeah, in the Browns game.
Yeah, there we go. So like they showed great results. So I just look. I don't want to go too over the top after one game. As alarming as this game was, I don't want to start making like drastic moves saying this needs to happen. Like let's give it a little bit more of a sample size. But if we're looking at long term though, yeah, I think it's pretty evident that this offense could go only so far, Mariota. If they're actually seriously going to compete for a playoff spot, there's going to be a couple more games like this, and I think it's a foregone conclusion. You might as well just give Ritter a shot. But look, the timing today, absolutely not. Like, give this guy a week.
Yeah, and like it. That's all I'm arguing is like you don't just throw a guy into a game just because. Like it's like, oh well, Mariota's not having a good game. Let's just throw in the backup quarterback for like a drive in the fourth quarter. Like, why not, you ask? Like, what's the problem with getting Ritter some reps? You're not giving him reps. You're just like throwing him to the wolves. And like, why would the Falcons do that? Like, why in the hell would any coaching staff want to throw their rookie quarterback, who they could choose to insert at any point if they want to, into a 35-17 game where he's going to maybe get one drive and like a handful of attempts? Like, why would you do that? First of all, you want to see him throw a few passes? Like, you could do that at practice. Like, you want to get him live game experience? Okay, like that's not like you want to get him like 3 to 4 snaps. That's not valuable game experience. That's just putting him in. Like, you're inviting a massive media shitstorm, a massive PR headache, like all of these things that don't make sense. They don't add up. Like, you're not going to learn anything about Desmond Ritter on a single drive that didn't even end up happening in the fourth quarter, by the way, because the Bengals ran out the clock with like 8 minutes left. You're not learning anything about Ritter by doing that. You're just like, maybe I guess it makes certain fans feel better. I know the other half of the fan base would completely riot. So
NFC Offensive Player of the Week, Marcus Mariota benched. Like,
yes,
that's the headline right there.
That's the headliner. Yeah, no, it's just yeah. I just don't see I don't see the point in that. I think people are just yelling about it because they're like, I mean, you don't want to watch the Falcons like suck. You want something to hang on to, something that you think is going to spark the team. Like Ritter coming in for a few passes, probably getting sacked or throwing a pick. Like, that's not going to reignite your love for this game and make this game feel any better. It's a waste of time. Like, it's just a distraction. If you want Ritter to play, you should be saying, okay, now he needs to be getting starting reps this week to prepare for the Panthers. Like, if you actually want Ritter to play, that's what you need to be pulling for, because just throwing him into the end of a meaningless game and kicking off a whole, shitstorm. Like, it's just not worth the effort. Like, it's not
just
worth
so
the hand
unnecessary.
wringing.
Yeah.
It's just not. And like, if you can't see why a coaching staff wouldn't want to invite all that hand wringing for a single drive, you need to really think about like what they have to deal with. Like, it's not going to help. It's not going to help evaluate anything. It's not going to change anything. It's pointless. So like, if you want your rookie quarterback to do well, like, set him up to succeed. Don't throw him to the wolves against a defense that's going to pin their ears back and go after him and potentially invite a mistake. I mean, maybe he throws a touchdown. Like, that'd be great. But like, everyone would just say, "Oh, it was just garbage time." So who cares? Like, so it's like you have nothing to gain from this.
Yeah. Even though I don't want to approve their strategy, like, I kind of got why Pittsburgh brought in Kenny Pickett when they did. Look, they should have benched Trubisky far earlier, but if you're going to bring a rookie quarterback, to me, it's the only reason why, if you desperately need to provide a spark. Like, if it's just a game where the offense looks so lackadaisical and it's just like, look, enough's enough, we need to do something drastic, fine. But look, I still avoid that at all costs. To me, it's just the best way to go about it is, if you really value your rookie quarterback, give him a week to prepare, set up a game plan that is going to put him in the best positions to succeed, and that's how you move forward.
Yeah. And guys, like, as much as I love Ritter, like, you guys know how much I like Ritter, like, he's a 3rd-round pick. Like, come on.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's not like Kenny Pickett that's just like waiting for any excuse to go into the game because he's a 1st-round pick. This is a 3rd-rounder. Like, people shouldn't be kicking down the door to start a 3rd-round pick. Like, as much as I think Ritter is really good and probably better than a 3rd-round pick, it's just, I know that would be fun, and I know it would be exciting and all these things, but like, if you really want the best for Ritter and this offense, like, he needs a week to prepare. Like, it's not that he hasn't been preparing all this time. I'm sure if he had to go in because of an injury, like, I think he would be ready. I think it would be fine. But like, don't just throw him in there because, like give him a chance to actually play a game and not just have a garbage time drive where the Bengals are going to be coming after him. Like, it's just, and again, this is a tough opponent to do it against too. So
Exactly. Yeah. Besides the Rams, Browns, and I guess this game, like, you can't really say Mario has played bad in games. Like, I thought he was fine against New Orleans, played well against Seattle.
Yeah.
We know how great he played against San Fran, and against all odds, I thought he handled himself well against Tampa Bay. To be the only games, like, the Browns game, that was an atrocity. And I thought the Rams game, they came back, he struggled mightily. Like, it's like Mario's been a liability week in, week out. Yes, he has limitations, but let's not just write him off. Like, he's still a competent player. So that's why, like, as much as I like to see this Falcons with the offense look like under Ritter, it just got to be with the right circumstances. So
yeah. Just give him a chance, like, to actually play well, because you want him to go out there, throw a pick, and take a bunch of sacks, and then it's like, oh, well, now all his only snaps are terrible, and everyone's like saying, oh, well, the Falcons have a bust at quarterback, and like, they need to draft Bryce Young, and like all this stuff. Like, the narrative changes on a dime. Like, last week it was Mario's the NFC Player of the Week. Like, Ritter might not start all season. Now it's like, why didn't he play in this game? Like, as much as like it feels like it in the moment, the pendulum does not swing that far in one game. It just does not. Like, I know everyone wants things to change like that, but it's like, think about it. Like, fans are calling for coaches to be fired like after week 1 of every team. It's not just Falcons fans. Every team. Like it's just, it's not reasonable to ask for these things. And you have, like, we're going to be reasonable because we're covering the team from a professional angle. Yes, we are fans, but like, it's not reasonable to demand a quarterback change at the end of a game where you're down like 3 scores. It's just not reasonable. Like, that's all I'm saying. Like, if you want to see Ritter, you got company here. Like, everybody wants to see Ritter, but you just need to do it in a way that makes sense. And doing it at the end of this game, in a doomed situation, just to appease the fans, would shake my faith in this coaching staff, because I think they're too smart to do something like that just to like appease angry fans. Like, they're not going to do that. That would be the only reason to do it. Like,
I got a good question for you. Are the Falcons the most dynamic, one-dimensional offense you've ever seen? Actually, I don't know. Actually, that's a bad question, because like the 2004 Falcons offense was pretty one-dimensional, and they had Michael Vick, so I think I just answered my own question. But like, it's pretty hilarious. Like, this offense, Like they're so one-dimensional, and like here comes the Pitts London factor. Just like they invested top 10 picks in pass catches. Like it's
Yeah.
just the weird offense. Like I think that's what the real pressure is now with on Arthur Smith. Like they desperately need to figure out what they could. They just have to do a better job maximizing London Pitts. And look, we'll watch the film. If it's quarterback play, we'll call it out. But I just have a really hard time believing how in this type of game, London 1 target, Pitts 3 catches, 9 yards.
That's unacceptable. Like, no matter how you slice it.
Yeah, like to me, that's the biggest outrage from this game. Like, okay, the O-line played bad, and the running game didn't quite live up to expectations, but just at some point, especially in these circumstances, like these 2 pass catchers have to get going because I really don't think it's a talent stand. I think these 2 are studs.
They are. I mean, you saw what Pitts could do last year.
Yeah, like I mean, the sample size is clear. Yeah. So I think it comes from like it comes from both sides and the offense line as well. But I want to see film just if it's more Mariota just missing opportunities or just coaching staff's not putting those 2 in the best opportunities.
I think it's a mix, and I think you look at this game and it's like the worst case scenario because the run game's not working. And when the run game's not working, this offense isn't going to be able to do anything. But I do want to keep going on this topic because it's good, but we have like 5 donations. So I need to start reading these before we get like too backed up. We got Corey with the $5. Thank you so much, Corey. He says, the Bengals just trolled us hard with Hayden Hurst. Well, I started Hayden Hurst in fantasy, so the joke's on the Falcons because I was expecting, the Hayden Hurst revenge game. Also, my tight end was on bye. So
I love me some Dallas. I had Dallas Goedert, man. Yeah. I was looking at the waiver wire. I'm like, tight end going to the Falcons, revenge game factor.
Yep.
He was, very upset. I'm going to use this in quotation marks about how underutilized he was in Atlanta. Meanwhile, he got plenty of opportunities to show himself in 2020. But that's another conversation. But he did his thing, and that 4th down. Oh man, just this big goofy smile. Oh.
Yeah, that's brutal. Absolutely brutal. We got George Costanza. With the $3. What's up, George? Says you haven't. I don't know if you've met George. George is our like show benefactor. This man, I need to pull up the stat. I'm pretty sure George has donated over $1,000.
Jeez, salute to George.
He was close. He's close, I think, if he hasn't already done it. But George, big shout out. He says for our first round draft pick this year, we should take Jalen Hyatt out of Tennessee. We need to remain consistent in drafting elite receiving talent that we're not going to use. Yeah, that would be. I said we should draft Bijan Robinson and slap wide receiver in front of his name, and then there you go. That's another receiving threat Arthur Smith can't resist. So,
by the way, while the commentary of this game, I think it was the first time I heard Calvin Ridley's mentioned during a game. I was like, Calvin Ridley's technically still on a team.
Yeah. And it's funny because I think he would change literally nothing about this offense. Like,
that's really disheartening to hear.
Yes, like I feel like it would not matter one bit that Calvin Ridley was here because they already don't target Drake London or Kyle Pitts. So Calvin Ridley would just be out there getting 1 to 2 targets also.
Yeah, would he be like the Zacchaeus role? It's like, he might get 3 targets. Dude, that is so disheartening because he's such a special talent, man.
Yep. It's hard to argue too much with the Falcons' overall strategy because they were 3-3 going into this game and were actually doing well, but it clearly has its limits, and we're going to continue to talk about that. But George Costanza again with the $3. Thanks, man. He says, honestly, we just do not match up well against elite wide receiving cores. Yeah, certainly not. Even with our secondary healthy, it was going to be a tall task. Although leave it to Eli Apple to make Mariota look like Aaron Rodgers.
Oh, yeah. There we go.
Yeah, at least we got that one play. That was fun. We got to enjoy like 3 minutes of being like, well, maybe the Falcons can do something, and then back to reality. But yeah, George, that was a fun one. And yeah, this was going to be a tough matchup no matter what. They were not playing the pass well even when they had Terrell and Hayward. But without Terrell and Hayward, this is a disastrous secondary. Like absolutely bottom 3, like no Hawkins, no Hayward, no Terrell. You're starting Darren Hall, Cornell Armstrong, and Oliver, who's clearly not 100%, like, still. Like, and that's not a good sign either. Like, he was getting cooked by Tyler Boyd all game. So this secondary is in dire straits, but good news next week. They play probably the worst passing game in the NFL. So, there's a chance because I think Baker's coming back. Like PJ Walker played well, but the Panthers are going to put Baker back in.
Oh, you really did? Oh, yeah. Well, they did trade for him. But, oh man,
they're going to put Baker back in if he's healthy.
I mean, hey, that's a good thing.
Yeah. We got Jason Gaines to $2, asking why did the coaching staff put Cornell Armstrong on Chase? When Terrell went down. After Terrell went down. Yeah. Armstrong has been on off the practice squad. That was like putting Avery Williams on CD Lamb last year. Bad results in both situations. Yeah, I agree. I don't know why Mike Ford didn't come into the game first. Like Mike Ford has not been great, but he's been like fine. Like he's been okay. Cornell Armstrong, fresh off the practice squad, going up against Jamar Chase every play. Like that was a disastrous decision, and like maybe Mike Ford wouldn't have done any better, but I think you at least give him the chance first.
What was he, 5'11", and like you just saw like Jamar Chase is big. Like everyone knows about him.
You need a big dude to just like tackle him even. And that's Mike Ford. Mike Ford's like 6 foot, over 200. So like he's just a bigger corner. But I'm surprised that Ford didn't get in there, to be honest. So I think that was a mistake. But Ford ended up getting hurt in this game anyway. So eventually we would have seen Cornell Armstrong on Jamar Chase no matter what. Jason Gaines again with the $2. Thanks, man. He says, also, the Bucs losing to the absolute dumpster fire of the Panthers today is fantastic. Yes, Falcons still tied for first place, folks. The Bucs are trash as well. Unless Fournette has a good game or Mike Evans catches multiple deep shots, they can't move the ball well either. Brady now needs the AARP card. Yeah.
Well, Mike Evans had a chance. I don't know if you saw that clip. He had a very good chance. Man, talk about anyone doing a Bucs podcast right now. They must be losing their minds.
Yeah, like at least with the Falcons, it's like, oh, we were expecting to just be rebuilding this year, whatever. And then like the Bucs are just like sitting there with this like loaded receiving room, like all this stuff, this great, like very good defense, and they're getting blown out by the Panthers, man. Feels bad. Now, this is before the Falcons play the Panthers, so we probably shouldn't, invite too much like bad juju for that, but kind of, I mean, they were 13.5-point favorites in this game, I think. Yeah. So, which was really aggressive for the Bucs because like they haven't really looked good at all this year, like in any game. So just like assuming they would blow anyone out is probably rich. But
I'm curious, was the 13 before or after the McCaffrey trade?
Probably after.
Yeah, I'm thinking maybe it was like 9 or 10, and then after McCaffrey got traded, it was 13.
I think it was like 12 before the McCaffrey trade.
Oh wow, that is.
I mean, it was a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, like the Bucs have just not looked good. I've had all this year. You know, like I still somehow before this game was a believer in them, but now I'm totally off them.
Yeah,
ain't no way you could do that against a pretty much expansion team at this point.
Yeah, that offense has literally nothing, and they were just. I mean, it's not like the defense got blasted or anything. It's just the Tampa Bay offense couldn't do anything. So,
do you want to mention? I don't know. I thought there was one positive in this game besides Avery Williams. By the way, Avery Williams, when he returns one, I'm gonna be so happy because, dude,
he's close.
Dude, he just has the vision and just the shiftiness. Like he just always breaks a tackle or two. But I just think he has a great feel for the game. Like the way he returns, he just kind of spots openings. Yeah, and he's excited about it. It's been a really cool story. I didn't really take him moving to running back all that seriously in the offseason. I was just like, oh, okay, let's see where this goes. Like I didn't think it was gonna lead to much. I don't know, nothing. Like I didn't think anything was gonna come of it. Like I thought it was just gonna be like a cool preseason story, but it was gonna wash out. But oh man, he's proven to be a difference maker. Like he was like one of the few bright spots, and he played a role in this game being somewhat competitive at one point.
Yeah, I agree. I think Avery Williams has been a very good returner. And I do expect him to get more looks. Like, I mean, I think he's going to break a touchdown at some point. He's been very close. And I think he deserves more touches on offense, too. Like, they just do not have a dynamic runner without Patterson back there. And it's basically up to Avery Williams to add that spark. And he has, I think, effectively. Maybe we need to see him more. But, yeah, it was just brutal to watch that Falcons offense today. Like, they weren't even running the ball. They had that one drive where it looked like, okay, the run game's getting going. We're going to be in 10 minutes. One. Yeah. And then it was nothing after that. Like they were falling down. They were missing just easy blocks. Like the whole offense just was snake bit today. Like they did not play well from the get-go, had the one drive. And of course the bomb on the Eli Apple's bad coverage. But that was it. Like all the rest of the day. And it's on the run game too. Like it's mostly on the run game, I think, because if this run game doesn't work, like we've said, no chance at all. I
do want to mention with the other highlight one. It's even though there were times where Burrow had too much time, I did like that. It seemed like Dean Pease was able to at least a few moments kind of exploit one of the Bengals' biggest flaws, and that's with their offense line. Their offense line is just bad at recognizing just pressures in general, whether it's blitzes or twists. Like I did like the fact that the Falcons are using a couple of different exotic fronts, and they actually got to Burrow a couple of times, particularly in the second half, whether it was Carter, Malone. I think it was Troy Anderson maybe had a moment there. Obviously, Great Jarrett, as usual, had a sack. Like it was at least good to see some light from pass rush that's just kind of been non-existent the past few weeks. So
Yeah.
at least they were able to get some of this that from that aspect, and hopefully they could kind of use it as a launching pad. But that said, like I still feel like interior wise, it would be great if they could like make a move at some point, just because it's just not a lot there. Like Abdul Anderson, bless his heart, but like guys like Tim Hortons, just you can't really expect these guys to give
Yeah.
you much there. And if you really are serious about competing for playoffs, I just think at least add another body to the interior. Is there any update? Even though I know he's been pretty much closed at this point, but like Marlon Davidson, is he coming back at some point?
I have no idea. I mean, they were pretty tight-lipped about his injury to begin with, and he hasn't come back yet. So I honestly don't know. I guess we'll see. But yeah, I mean, you're right. Like, I mean, I do appreciate the pass rush getting some sacks here. Like they got 3. That's just like their second highest total of the year. I think they've had the most they had was like 1 in every other game, and then 4 in week 1. So that's obviously nice to see that they were getting some pressure. Carter got a sack. D'Angelo Malone got his first sack. Of course, Grady Jarrett just doing stuff.
He did it very gently. I don't know if
Yes,
you noticed.
yes, very good, very good of Grady. He's
shout
learning.
Shout out to Benjamin Watson. I don't want to steal it. Show Benjamin Watson tweeted out, former like 18-year tight end. I was cracking up at that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there was a couple of jumps. Not to get totally off subject, but Nate Tice, right?
Yeah.
He said, watching Taylor Heineke is like watching Johnny Knoxville play football. That was. I lost it. Like, could you just picture Johnny Knoxville play quarterback?
Yeah, that.
Yeah.
Oof.
There's some gem tweets there, just because it was some ugly action. Like, say it was we knew the schedule was rough going to this week, and boy, there was some ugly football. But back to Falcons though, like it was a critique. And I want to mention, but Rashaan Evans really giving some good snaps. Like that third down stop was nice. He had a couple moments in pass coverage. Like, for someone that came in, they thought, okay, thumper, hard hitter, kind of knows the defense. He might be a decent complimentary piece. I don't know. He's kind of exceed expectations. He makes more than a few flash plays week in, week out.
Yeah, I agree. I think we did see I think we saw honestly it was like the defense, despite getting absolutely roasted. I think the defense's game was far more impressive considering everything. The offense was going up against a very weak run defense. We talked about it on the pregame. They just let over 200 yards on the ground to the Saints.
Yeah.
Despite them getting back early, they closed the gap enough in the second half that they had plenty of opportunity to run the ball if they wanted to. They couldn't do it. They averaged 3-something yards a carry. And the blocking wasn't good and all this stuff. But I do think the defense tightened up in the second half. They allowed just 7 points after allowing 28 in the first half. They gave them a chance. The offense didn't do a damn thing with it. So
I think this is one of those games where I think the coaching staff or the organization in general will look back on and be like, we're gonna have all this cap space on the season. They'll likely make a splash or two in the offensive line. I think this is one of those games where you watch Caleb McGarry. It's like, look, there's improvement, but are we seriously going to invest what kind of contract on someone who is putting together 1 year of decent play? Because look, he's had his moments, but look, when you're rebuilding, you need to invest in competent, or at least dependable stars, and he just hasn't been that. You wonder about Jake Matthews' future. Drew Dahlman he's showing flashes, but Drew Dahlman is just so frustrating as a pass protector, and Elijah Wilkins is just a guy. So it's I think this is one of those games where you look at the offense line and it's all right, if we're really going to compete the best, there's going to at least need to be a new starter or two. So I think that's another big takeaway you go from this.
Yeah, I think we're going to see it. I think this is going to be the trench the trench off season. I think we will see
no more mid-round picks on centers.
No, yeah. I mean, it's fine if you want to keep adding guys, just for depth. But, I think we're going to see an early pick or maybe even 2 and probably 1 to 2 signings. They just need to get quality guys in here. And I think you go after a veteran center and probably try to draft a right tackle, particularly if they are in that, 10 to 20 range in the draft. I think there's going to be a lot of tackles available there. I've mentioned Peter Skoronski before. This is a guy, Skoronski can play all 5 spots in the line too. So
wow.
he's
We,
someone.
we got you excited right now. We're doing draft talk.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
can feel the excitement in your voice right now.
I know. I do love the draft talk, but it's not out of necessity. Like, this team is still tied for first in the division, guys. But
Yeah.
I think we can tell, like, right now, what's going to hold this team back more than anything is they can't pass protect. And maybe, honestly, that is the reason the passing game isn't working more than anything else, is the pass protection. Like, maybe everyone's trying to blame it on Ritter or blame Smith for not calling more passes, when really maybe Arthur Smith just realizes this offensive line can't pass protect at all, and we just need to limit the passing as much as we can. So,
like, there was a 3rd and 14. They had at least an extra block or two, and they ran play action. Like, it's 3rd and 14.
yeah.
Like, you
Yeah.
like
You're not fooling anyone.
it's like we need pass catchers. Like, how are we going to stretch teams vertically? And we're running backs like Parker Hesse, huge ass in the run game, but like we're asking him to chip Trey Hendrickson. Like, we can't trust Jake Matthews. Like, it's just stuff like
Not
that. It's
ideal.
like, look, yeah, it's like, look, I understand there's moments where you have to chip edge rushers and stuff, but like, look, Sam Hubbard, Trey Henderson, they're very good players, but they're not Micah Parsons. They're not Von Miller. Like, you can't just be so dependent on having an extra block or two. There's sometimes you just need to trust your offensive line or have someone in the backfield and maybe go off a route. But when you have players like literally playing in, alongside, whether it's Matthews or McGarry, like lining up alongside him, like tight end, and having to block, it's just like you're limiting your options for routes. And I think that is a big cause. Just seeing for a couple of these plays. So, and I think, like you said before, I think that is a result of just not trusting the offensive line. So
Yeah, it's multifaceted. I think
Yeah.
it is, and nothing is ever completely separate from the other things. I don't know that Mariota's throws were awful today so much as I think he just held the ball way too long, and I think this is an offense where it's like you need to get this ball out.
yeah, there was a 3rd down to Pitts, I think, where he was a little late.
He's just Mariota's just not a pocket passer. Like he's not comfortable in the pocket. He needs to be moving around, and to be fair, like this offense generally works well when you get the quarterback moving like that, but it's just limited right now, and I just don't know that. I don't know what you could. I don't know what exactly you could have done differently in this game outside of just executing the offense better, like particularly the run game. Like the run game needed to take over. We keep beating this one up, but like the run game needed to take over this game. They did not. They still got over 100 yards somehow on like one good drive in the entire game, but it was not.
I think Mario ran the option once that kind of worked out nicely.
Yeah.
Went for like 20 yards. That might have been the longest run of the game.
It was.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, Mariota did get up over 5 yards per carry, but he's the only back that averaged more than that. But
Cordell Patterson, come back soon.
Yes,
he
need him.
He could have broke up a couple plays in this game. I think he provides that jolt.
They just lack that dynamic element without Patterson back there. They need him to hold up against these really good teams, especially. And like, don't be fooled by the Bengals record. These are the AFC champions. Like, their pass defense is elite, and their run defense is not good. But the Falcons got into a game script that really benefited them.
They've had a very difficult start to season. Playing teams like, look at the Cowboys, look at the Ravens. Like, they've had some difficult games. So, look, regardless of Super Bowl hangover, like you gotta respect the team that has that much firepower offensively and are so well coached defensively. So, I was not like the Bengals, they're threats. So that's why I'm not too down this game. It's just the coaching staff, that there's gonna have to be a response to this. That's how I look at it. Like, defense, to me, it's just a mulligan. Like, look, it is what it is with defense. We kind of know.
Yeah.
They can punch above their weight all they want, but like teams like this are just gonna railroad them.
Yeah, they are, and like that's the thing. Like, like the Bengals scoring 35 in this game is not shocking to me.
We're gonna really criticize Darren Hall. Like, come on.
Right. I am shocked that like the Falcons offense couldn't do more, because I think the defense did enough, certainly, to give them opportunities to make this closer. And they did not. They did not do anything at all in the second half. But you also can't have your quarterback completing 8 passes in a game. Like, that's not enough in this NFL. Like you should be attempting. I think like when we saw Tennessee's offense have the most success, it was like 30, approximately rushing attempts and like 25 passing attempts approximately. More than that even, but like, 25 completions about there was like, if Ryan Tannehill had 20 to 25 completions, that was probably a good game for them. And the Falcons right now, they're in the single digits in completions in several of these games, and they're not getting above 20 attempts in most of them. It's just, this is not an offense that I think is going to work against good defenses. And maybe this is just Arthur Smith's plan. Like we're gonna be able to beat the teams that aren't as good. Like we're gonna employ a strategy that's gonna help us beat bad teams and help us keep games close. But like we just know that like if things don't go right, if the run game has an off day or we get behind big, like we just don't really have much of an answer. But we're gonna win more games than we lose because of how well we do these things. Like that could be a strategy for getting 9-8 with this schedule. And that could get this team to the playoffs if this division stays as terrible as it has been. So, like, I know everyone wants to bury the team now for losing to the Bengals, which we all expected, unless you were a big homer. And we all thought this would be a tough matchup, and, like, maybe they'll have a chance to surprise, but it's a tough game. We tried to tell you, like, this shouldn't move the needle for you on the team if they lose this game because the Bengals are really good and it's a bad matchup, yada, yada, yada. Lo and behold, they lose to the Bengals, and now everyone's like, this offense sucks. Arthur Smith sucks. Like, how dare you draft 2 pass catchers? This offense was 9th in scoring coming into this game, people. Like, come on. Like, relax.
Top 5 in red zone conversion rate, top 5 in third down. I still can't believe that third down stat. I think that's just more testament to how good the running game has been in putting the offense in 3rd and short or 3rd and 5, 6. Because, like, look, this team just 3rd and long. Like, I want to like watch the film and see how many 3rd and longs they could be because they just look hopeless, man. And then just like, how is this possible for a team that's invested a good amount in their offense? Because we know they have not invested in their defense. And yes, we know about the dead cap situation, but still, like, it's clear they've put some effort into this offense. There's a lot of first rounders in this offense, so and it's just you can't look that inept on 3rd and long. You have to at least pose a threat, especially with the playmakers they have. So, yeah, if there's a reason to be outraged from this game, that would probably be it.
But yeah, people just need to relax because this is a tough game. We knew it was going to be a tough game. They lost a tough game.
Probably the toughest stuff on schedule.
Yeah,
maybe besides Baltimore, because obviously Baltimore's going to be a threat.
Yeah,
but besides that, on the schedule, who else is better?
Might have been the toughest team. So I think it's maybe a little bit of people getting a little too high after the 49ers game.
Understandable.
Yes, which is fun. Like, I'm not trying to stomp on anyone's parade, but like, it's one loss. They're 3-4. Now they're going into an easy 6-game stretch. If they like now struggle against the Panthers and they just crap out over the next few games, then you can call for people's heads all you want. Whatever you want to do is fine, but like, don't necessarily move your needle based on a loss to the AFC champions is all I'm saying. It was disappointing. They didn't play well, but as Corey Carter in the chat says, like, looking at this stretch, like before the season, I think anyone would probably be like 3-4. That I'll take that because they were playing the 2 Super Bowl teams. They were playing, the Bucs and the Saints, who were expected to be good. The Saints had like their best game of the year against Atlanta in Week 1, and then the Bucs, got bailed out by the officials. So it's like, this team could easily be 4-3 right now, easily.
Let's not forget they played the NFC Championship team.
Yeah,
49ers. So it's like they've had a brutal start to this. We remember in April, I look at the start of the season, just like, oof, like they might win 1 game. Like that Seattle game, pin it down. Right. The rest of it, I don't know about this. So like for them to be 3-4 and look, they put together a tremendous effort the first 6 games. It was the first. Somewhat of a letdown, even though I kind of expected a little bit. But look, let's take it week by week. I know people like to rush to hot takes and harsh conclusions, but to me, it's just like let's not push the panic button yet. It's still a long season, and I think the coaching staff has done enough where it's like you could have belief in them to make the adjustments.
Yeah, I agree, and in this NFC, like being 3-4 is not a big deal. You got to get back up on the horse. You got to figure out what to do with this secondary because it is in disastrous shape. They're going to have to sign guys almost certainly. And you need to, get these offensive issues ironed out. I think if you want to talk about like we should see Ritter, like this offense is too limited because of the quarterback, that's fine. But I also wouldn't expect to see Ritter next week either, guys. I don't think it's going to happen. So I know everyone wants it, and then I know the other half is like, how dare you even like mention that Ritter could possibly start at some point? And you're also wrong. Like, There's no way to slice 8 completions as a good thing, like ever. There's no way to slice that, guys. Like, that was not good. So, like, this is a complex decision with lots of layers. I don't really think there's much of a difference either way. Like, at this point, I think I also don't think like you're just throwing Ritter in there now. So I think more than likely you're probably going to see Mariota again next week and maybe the week after, we'll see. But I think they're probably going to like wait for Mariota to have a bad stretch before pulling him. Like, I don't think they're going to be like, oh, well, you had a bad day against an elite pass defense, so bye. That just doesn't strike me as their style.
Yeah, and I just think it's going to take till like after that Thursday night game's Carolina, because I just don't know how you could start a rookie quarterback on a short week either. So it might take till mid-November if Ritter's going to get action. Because I just can't see like if he struggles against, I think it's the Chargers after the Panthers, correct?
Yeah.
Like even if he struggles against them, which I find it hard to believe because the Chargers, oh boy, it's a defense that you could pick on quite a bit. I can't see him. I just can't see bringing a rookie quarterback on 3 days of preparation. So, look, at this point now, I think the San Francisco performance alone, rightfully so, gave Mariota more time to be a starter. Now let's see what happens this 3-game stretch. You're playing 2 games against one of the worst teams in the NFL and not even overrated, just a very vulnerable Chargers team. Like this next 3-game stretch, 2-1 is the goal, but I would not be shocked at 3-0 just because I don't rate the Chargers all that highly.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I mean, the Chargers are one of those teams. It's sort of like anything could happen. So
yeah, I mean,
good or bad. Yeah.
To be Falcons could run for 200 yards in that game, I'd be like, yeah, that makes sense. You could do that. So
yeah. All right. Well, anything else you want to add, Alan?
We don't do awards, right? Even though it wouldn't be a game to do awards.
No, this would be not the game for the awards. I haven't been doing that, but if you have an award you want to give out,
no awards. Just if we're gonna name a few stands, like I said, Rashawn Evans played very well. Avery Williams, spark plug. Damari Bird, let's see if he gets a couple more reps. Like, because he was good on Chicago last year. Like, you watch him at the end of the year. I know no one watched the Bears. Just the nerd in me talking, but like he made plays again on a very bad team. So maybe he'll get a couple reps. But again, like I asked for a receiver to get more reps. What does that mean? Maybe one more target, given how little off of his throws. And I don't think Damari Bird's a particularly good blocker either, so that kind of limits his opportunities. So yeah, I don't know. I guess I don't know to tell you. But look, that was standout and good moment for Malone, and just hopefully maybe it's a start for Dean Pease to be more aggressive blitzing wise, because I don't think the Falcons have blitzed enough this year. So, and especially given now the secondary, their issues, I think they might just be forced to blitz out of necessity. And if Baker Mayfield's really going to be a starter next week, oh boy, crank it up, please, crank it up.
Yeah. Please. Yeah. We need to beat the Panthers next week. If they lose to the Panthers, it's going to be sky is falling.
Then okay.
Then I'll allow it.
It's another conversation.
Yeah. I'll allow it, but let's
home
wait.
I believe they're home next week. Correct?
I think so. Yeah. So let's wait for that before we call for anything drastic at this point. That would be my recommendation.
Any takeaways for you, Kev?
It was a bad game. Let's move on.
All right, Bill Belichick.
Let's get past that as quickly as possible. Just a really rough performance in general. Like, not a lot to hang your hat on one way or the other. So just a rough watch.
Yeah, I'm interested to watch the film, but just for a curiosity purpose, not for entertainment purposes. Like,
it's a difficult one to
like
rewatch.
This defense.
I'm not looking forward to it.
Yeah, like to me, the defense is I'm kind of gonna breeze by just because like it's pretty straightforward how bad I gotta be. But the offense, that's where I'm really gonna dial into. Like, all right, what on earth?
Yeah. So they gotta get the run game going next week. They gotta figure out what happened here, and you're gonna have to target your stars more. Like this is unacceptable. And if it's the quarterback, then we need to see a quarterback change. And if it's the offensive line, then there's not anything we can do about that. So it could be either one of those things.
No Jalen Mayfield, please.
That's not the spark you're looking for. I guarantee that.
Yeah, and I don't know about Matt Hennessy or Jermaine Ifedi either. So I feel like this is their best 5.
Yeah. George Costanza at the $3 says, "How do you feel about Mariota's execution?" I'm in favor of it. Odd, not probably. Yeah, Adnan has. I'm sure we're gonna get some fiery Adnan takes on Wednesday, so you guys can look forward to that. That is, by the way, when our next live show will be Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in to this post-game show. Not a great watch, but opportunity to get back to 500 next week. Falcons will be favored. Hopefully, take care of business against what should be a lesser opponent. Before we get out of here, guys, do like and subscribe. Really appreciate those metrics. Help us out there. You can follow us on Patreon, patreon.com/Falcoholic Live if you want to support the show. Make sure also to give a follow to Alan Strk, at Alan Strk on Twitter. Anything you're working on you'd like to plug?
I'm definitely be doing a roundtable this week. It's gonna be me, Will McFadden, and Everett Glaze. So that will be up on Wednesday, and then I'll have another piece on Thursday, probably about the Falcons offense, because I really just don't have much to say about the defense at the moment.
Yeah, George Costanza again. In all seriousness, have I really donated over $1,000? I can look it up for you, George. It might not be that high, but
can we give him something if he has?
You should get like a mug or something, like number one fan.
Mug's definitely not. I don't know, man. I'm trying to
some kind of number one fan thing.
Yeah. SB Nation, get him like 3 T-shirts.
Yeah, something. SB
Yeah,
Nation,
we gotta get some
free things.
Collectibles.
Yeah. I'm in favor of that. I don't know that corporate's in favor of that. They're the ones that would pull those strings. But thank you, George. I'll figure it out for next show. I'll look into it and see the numbers. I mean, if you combine the Patreon and the donations, I think definitely it's been over 1,000. But we're gonna find out. But guys. Thank you for tuning in. I'm Kevin Knight at Falcoholic Kevin. He's Alan Strk at Alan Strk. We will see you guys next week on the Falcoholic Live. Enjoy the rest of your football Sunday. Guys, thanks so much for tuning in with us and suffering through what was not great week 7. So we're on to week 8. We're not going to dwell too much on this. I mean, I have to because I'm doing the film review, but, I'm not going to dwell too much more than that. But thank you guys for watching. We'll see you guys next time on the Falcoholic Live. Have a great